I believe life is an exquisite opportunity to explore all facets of who we are, who we get to be, who we are not, and who we choose to create ourselves to be. I believe life is happening for us. It's a wild and exciting adventure, and around every corner, we get to dive in and explore how or why things are showing up for us the way they are. From the people, the places, the patterns, and even the situations. It's our own healing adventure. Imagine, who will you choose to be in the midst of all the highs and all the lows? You get to say how life goes. You first have to be aware of why and how it's showing up for you. Consider, life gives you the opportunity to mold, shape, and expand into your greatest self. Come with me on this journey where I explore various aspects of my own life and how I tackle my own healing adventures and what I learned from them. Maybe what I have to share could make a difference for you or someone else. Welcome to Life's Healing Adventures. I'm your host, Tara Michelle. All right, so welcome back to Life's Healing Adventures. This is Tara Michelle. I am so excited to have all of you with me because I have my amazing friend, my dearest and bestest friend, Alexis Drees. Hello, Alexis. How are you?
Hello, I'm so excited to be here
Yeah, I'm excited to
chatting
have
with
you. We're
you.
actually, yes. We are going to be talking about self-worth today. Alexis, I'm going to do a quick intro on Alexis because there's a lot you need to know about her. And if you want to work with her, I need to share with you how you're going to find her. So, Alexis Drees works in education. She's been working in education for over 20 years. She's a creator of, or I should say, she's the creator of Parent Academy, a parenting mentorship community that offers group classes, workshops, and one on one parenting and coaching. I said all that wrong. One on one parent coaching and retreats. And if you are in need of one on one coaching for parenting, she is amazing because she has offered so much assistance for my son and I. It's been hands down incredible. So I highly recommend you work with her. But Alexis is also an education and curriculum consultant. She works with schools, educators, and parents. And currently, she's working on her academic language therapist license and provides one on one tutoring for dyslexic reading, spelling, and math. She's also the mom of four amazing boys and lives here in Austin. As I mentioned, I'm going to put her information in the show notes, but you can find her at alexisdrees.com. That's Drees. And her first name is AlexisDrees.com. And you can reach her at alexisdrees.com. But we're going to jump into this conversation of self-worth. It's one that we find we talk a lot about, or it just seems to circle back to often because we talk about a lot of things. But yeah, I'm just gonna hand it to you for here a second. So hi, tell us a little bit
Hi.
about you. And
Yes,
let's
I'm
talk self-worth.
fascinated and excited to talk about it even a little more in depth and bring to life some of the conversations that you and I just dive into on the regular, you know,
Yes, all the time. All the time.
because and when you and I talked about being on here together, that was the first thing that came up was like, oh,
Hmm.
self-worth. Not only
Hmm.
because it's something that you are so good at bringing up, but it
Hmm.
also over the years of chattering on the phone and about
Hmm.
life's things um has continued to come up as a theme for the both of us. And I just think it's
Yes.
such a valuable and important thing to look at, not only because it can be so under the radar and can have a life of its own, and you don't even recognize that that's
Yes.
what's happening, that
Yes.
you're not valuing yourself or you're overvaluing or not valuing another person. And all of that goes together, but just how we wear so many different hats. And yet, so often it's tied back to this idea of self worth.
Yeah. There's so much you just said there. And yeah, it's because when I think about self-worth and what we were just talking about prior to getting this going is how it shows up in all the different areas of your life and
Mhm.
how it shows up differently in those different areas. And it's funny because here I think, well, I'm 53 years old, I should have it all figured out and I should be
Mhm.
this place, that place, and the other, and I should have this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
And when it comes right down to it, any of the things that I've struggled with or had challenges with always had to do with levels of self-worth.
Mhm.
whether it was me thinking that I'm not worthy of being chosen, whether it's me
Right.
thinking, and that's in the area of my career as well as my romantic relationships, or as a parent, whether it was I'm doing it the right way or am I doing enough? I mean, the big
Mhm.
thing is like, oh my God, I see all these parents doing all these things and I don't do all those things because I can't do all those things. And oh my God,
Right.
just all the constant, and you had mentioned earlier about competing, the competition. And I think
Mhm.
as women, I can't speak for men, but as women, women are so competitive as well. And we compete on so many levels. And I
Mhm.
feel at this age in my life, I think only in probably the last 3 or 4 years have I realized I just don't want to compete anymore. I just
It's
don't
so
want to.
true.
And
Right.
yeah, and you know, I just thought of the whole incident that occurred over Christmas amongst all of us women, and how
Mhm.
we all worked through that. And
Yeah.
I came across the message I sent you all, because I was cleaning out my notes on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, how dramatic, Tara.
Yeah.
Fucking dramatic. But I was dealing with a piece of self-worth. And
Mhm.
I was dealing with not feeling worthy, not being selected, or not being a part of something.
Yeah.
And really, it just wasn't the truth. It just wasn't so. But
Yeah.
still had to overcome all those emotions that we get flooded with. And
So many.
yes, and then who we be in those moments and how we react and how we handle it. And I definitely don't know that I handled it the best way, but I think, you and I talk about a lot right now is just who we are being in our truth. And what does that look
Yeah.
like? And when
What
we're
is
on
your
the
truth?
court, how we stumble and fall, and how
Mhm.
that's self-worth all over the place,
All
all
over the
over the place.
place. I mean, it's important to think about like what is self-worth? What are we even talking about, right? What does that
Yes.
mean? What does that look like? Like, how would you
Yes.
define it? Because I
Hmm.
think it's really easy, like you were saying, it's competitive. We're so used to external validation. We want to
Yes.
see on the outside how we are valued on the inside, right?
Yep.
And you get stuck in that trap and it starts very, very young. And that's why I love working with kids because we do not come out seeking, external validation. We really
No.
don't. We have lots
No.
of systems and structures that are like, oh, that's your work. I'm going to grade you on that work. Oh, that's
Yes.
how you did. I'm going to time you. I'm going to give you a place and
Yes.
a medal and a score and
Yep.
I mean, that was like the very beginning of my TED talk. You have this child and they're perfect and healthy and wonderful. And then they take the
Yes.
measurements and they're like,
Yes.
well, their head is this size and they weigh this much. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, now I'm measuring things and looking for this external validation of like, how healthy is my child? Um,
Yes.
so then we get back into this idea of self-worth, which is you giving your own self-value. It's like creating your own scale for what you value, what's important to you, how you feel about yourself. And that can be the most ungrounded place is really no one can tell you you're wrong, right? You sent that message and that
Mhm.
message was true to you in that
In
moment.
that
And
moment.
nobody else
Mhm.
can tell you whether that's right or wrong. And dang it, that's like a really lonely feeling.
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
feel just sort of hung out there like, well, this is what's really important to me. Well,
Mhm.
however it falls. And sometimes it just feels like we have a series of moments, conversations, and hiccups in life that are like, you're just out here floating around trying to
Yep.
figure out
Trying to figure it
your own
out.
self-worth.
Well, I think you bring up a really great point when we talk about, yeah, what is self-worth? And it really is you having your, I hate using this word, it's your measure of your own
Mm-hmm.
personal value. The
Mm-hmm.
sad thing about that is that it's our measurement.
Mm,
And where our measurement I feel gets skewed is in the collective consciousness and the programming that is now out there that you already mentioned, that my measurement still has a foundation that was contextually founded in the idea of I have to get the best grades, I have to make the
mm-hmm.
most money, I have to have the best job, you
Mm-hmm.
know and a perfect example will be, and I think I talked about this on that podcast with Kindy, was when I woke up and recognized, when I say woke up, meaning I had this aha moment that the whole reason I was a homeowner was to prove to people that I was worthy of something. And it was
Mm.
like, holy hell, really? Like, so that me owning a home is some measurement, but
Yeah.
it's still there. Like, I have this measurement of my child.
Hmm.
Like, if he's not doing something, that's some measurement to the level of parenting that I'm providing. And I
Hmm.
constantly have to reel that back in,
Yeah.
even to the point of telling him, honey, that's my own fear. Because if
Hmm.
I make it mean that I'm not being a good parent, like if you're sick, or if you're choosing all the ridiculously shredded clothes that don't fit you anymore that I keep forgetting to throw out when I just bought you all these new clothes, but you keep putting on these old clothes, and you walk out into public and I make that mean I'm a terrible parent, you know?
Exactly.
And he's like, Mom,
Yes.
I just don't care. I just don't
Yeah.
care, Mom. Why do
Yeah.
you care, Mom? Why do you care? And he really looks at me like, what's your problem? You're the one with the problem because you care and I don't? And I just love that he doesn't. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm rolling like this because I don't care. He knows
And
his
in the
kids.
end, that's really what we want for our kids.
Yes,
Like, that's
yes,
really what we want as a parent. That's the
yes,
goal, right?
yes,
But we get stuck in like, oh, well, I didn't think about what that would reflect upon me as, you know,
yes.
I really wanted my kid to be individual, to know who they are. Well, I didn't think about what that would feel like if they chose something that I didn't agree with,
Right?
or maybe that and and such an interesting place to be as you watch your kids grow up and change and
Yes,
mold into their own sense of self and their own sense of purpose. And I
yes,
know we had talked about that self-worth idea, you know, as it reflects in parenting of
yes.
how much can you sacrifice of yourself? How much can you give of yourself? How
Yeah,
much time? How much, love? How much attention? How much money to get them
yep.
involved in all the things? Meanwhile, that's not really valuing yourself if you're running around ragged, um,
No.
not honoring what you need as a human, as an adult.
It makes me wonder, do those people find their own self-worth and value through that measurement of look at all the things I have my child doing. Look at how I'm in his life or her life all the time. Look at I'm on the PTA and I do the scouts or the Girl Scouts and I do everything. I do it all with them. I'm the leader of all of it. And it's
Mm.
like, okay, got it. And I wonder, like, is that coming from this place of you really want to provide your child all of the access and opportunity out there? Or is it coming from this place of you think that's what you have to do and you put some like you have it that your worth is tied up in that, that if you're not doing that, then you're not a good
Hmm.
parent.
Yeah, it's definitely
Hmm.
both. I mean, I've worked with
Hmm.
countless parents. They're like, I should be doing more. I should be volunteering more. I should be doing this. Yes, that sure. We all have a little bit of that feeling like, am I enough? Am I doing enough?
Hmm.
And then I've worked with lots of parents who are on this other side of, hey, you know what? I'm really introverted. I don't want to volunteer. It's very uncomfortable for me. I will
Hmm.
give myself in other ways, but I'm sure people look at me and think, oh, goodness, she doesn't
Yes.
participate.
Yes.
And that's really that back and forth of like, oh, honor yourself that you're an introvert. It feels uncomfortable for you. And there's lots of other ways that you can provide
Well,
help
and
and
that
resources.
That right
Mm.
there brings up the point, when we look at how life is happening for us, and if we are
Mhm.
able to really recognize in those moments, you know, I see that as an opportunity to grow beyond the need to worry what others think about us.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, at the end of the day, that's really probably the biggest mastery of self-worth is stopping
Yeah.
worrying about what other
What other
people
people think.
think, because that's ultimately what's always driving at the base of that worth conversation is what will they think if I don't do this? What will they think if I can't reach that? And what will they think? Well, what do you think?
Right. That's my favorite question. Well, what do you think? How does
Hmm.
that make you feel?
Hmm.
Each of us are our own very unique set of values and gifts and experiences and traumas and dreams and hopes and desires and all that. one is not the same as another. And thank goodness. What if everybody wanted to volunteer on the PTA? There'd be no room for everybody to volunteer on the
Right?
PTA. You
There's
know?
so many of us that could give a rat's doodle.
And
Like,
there's
no,
just
thank you.
like, yeah, no thanks. Not for me, but so glad that that's for you.
Yeah,
But I will have your kids over. I will feed them popsicles. They can make an absolute
totally.
mess in my house. You can pick
Yes,
them up whenever you want, and they will have the greatest, messiest time of their life.
yes,
That is what
yes,
I can provide because
yes.
my nervous system is so down for that.
I think that's a piece too, is really understanding your limits, your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at self-worth on many levels, whether it's being all the things you think you need to be for your family, or being all the things you think you need to be for your partner, or being all the things you think you need to be at work,
Yeah.
and setting those boundaries. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, that goes back to the restoration of your own self-worth. But then you
Yeah,
first have to understand, what is my self-worth in those moments?
exactly. Who
Mhm.
am I bond? I think one of the, obviously you and I have talked a lot about this, but like the things that have gone on in my own personal life in the last year that have really made me recognize that oftentimes I'm bonding to the situation, to other people in the situation, and I'm not necessarily bonding to myself. I am
Yeah,
not valuing my own bond to myself,
yourself.
and there that gets lost. Your value,
Yes.
your self-worth gets lost by saying, you know what, my kids are more important, my husband's more important, you know, whatever, my job is more
Whatever.
important, whatever is there, your dog, your mom, your sister, your brother. It doesn't, it's how do we lose ourselves in those moments? And I think for women, that's very, very common. We want to
Hmm.
care for, we want to be cared for, but we
Hmm.
want to care for.
We're so
Um,
willing to sacrifice ourselves
mhm.
at the expense of making sure everybody else feels good.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
taken care of. Hmm.
And you can really spin out.
Hmm.
You really can get lost in like, oh, and other people sometimes like that, you're saying it's about what other people think. A lot of
Hmm.
times people are really ready to tell you, like, wow, that's
Hmm.
so selfish. I spend a lot of time in the gym, and people be
Hmm.
like, wow, how do you make time for that? Or
Make
what
it.
you just make it. You
Yeah.
just do it, and everybody gets around, and everybody comes together and makes it happen.
Um, I really love that you brought that up, because there's one thing I did tell myself when I was a young mom,
Hmm.
not a young mom, but when Leland was younger, is that when the time came, I wasn't going to lose myself, that I was going to give him everything that I
Hmm.
needed to give him. And I really, like, the first, I think, 6 years, I devoted just, work in him, work in him, work in him, work in him. And I took care of myself a little bit throughout that time, but it was pretty much work in him. And I dated just a tiny bit, but not really. It was like work in him. But then when there was a time that he came of a certain age, I realized, okay, I'm going to
Hmm.
go back and find a spiritual community. I'm going to start going to meditations and whatnot. I'm going to start doing the things I know to cultivate Tara, because I'm
Yeah.
not going to lose Tara. And then when my child is 15, 16, 17, 18, and really ready to fly the coop, and I'm standing here saying, who am I now that he's
Hmm.
gone?
Yeah.
And that's, and I know we talk about that a lot, because I feel that's something we as moms, especially in our little mom tribe, I see us all really doing that. We're all
Yeah.
devoted mothers. We are all super committed to our children, but
Hmm.
I also see that we very much work towards this cultivation of making sure we're healing, taking care of,
Hmm.
strengthening, restoring self, whether that's through food, working out, going out, um, you know, having mom breaks where, somebody takes the kids so somebody else can go do something else, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, it's these moments where we say, okay, it's your turn, it's your time, and how
Hmm.
important that is. And
Yeah.
like, back to what you were saying is, yeah, so many people are like, oh, how do you find the time? Or, I was never able to do that. I couldn't do that. No, you
Mm.
can, but you
Yeah.
have to see the worth in yourself enough to say, you know what? I am gonna do it. And if I
Mhm.
can't afford to do it, I'm gonna go do it in my backyard. I'm gonna go meditate in my backyard. If I can't afford to go to something, or if I don't have the
Absolutely.
space and time for something, I'm
Yes.
gonna carve out 5 minutes a
Yeah.
day for that something to fill my cup. Because if your cup ain't full, and then you
Yeah,
got
you
to
have
know what
nothing
your cup
to.
is. Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to know what your cup is. What
it's
is your
so
cup?
true.
Is
That
it
looks like
silver? Is it
successful.
gold? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
successful self-worth. Like that is
Yes.
what it looks like. And I guarantee you we all do it in small, simple ways.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, am I valuing myself? Yeah, 100% you are in small ways. So look for those small little ways and then add a few more. What is it
Mm-hmm.
that you like to do? What is it that you're drawn to do? And then start there. But it
What do
trickles in.
you what do you recognize when you're not worthying yourself?
Mhm.
What does that look like?
I think I'm saying yes too often.
Mhm.
That's a big one for me is yes too often. So if I'm not resting, I'm not sleeping, I'm saying yes to things that I'm like, oh, I actually don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I also would say like my emotional boundaries of,
Mhm.
that's probably my biggest one. And that
Mhm.
I saw as a parent very clearly early on,
Mhm.
my desire to fix another person, to fix any of my kids' emotions,
Yeah.
right? Like something went wrong, and in the
Yeah.
beginning, that's how they tell you what they want. That's how they tell you
Yes.
how they want to eat. That's how they tell you they have
Yes.
a dirty diaper. But at some point, it becomes this idea of like you almost can't let them be upset, and then you have to switch on of like, okay, well, that's actually not my emotion. That's
Mhm.
theirs. And it's very healthy. And they're going to work all the way through that. And
Right.
I'm going to be here with them.
Right.
And that's a really hard one for me. Like, what is mine emotionally and what is not mine emotionally? What am I
Mhm.
willing to change my behavior for in order to make somebody else's emotions bigger than mine? Was
Yes.
probably hands down like my biggest self-worth challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Not wanting to make other people uncomfortable.
Right. You sent that post today about boundaries and, you know, being afraid to set those boundaries for fear of the loss of the person or the people
Mhm.
around you.
Mhm.
And then you bring up emotional boundaries. And that's where I struggle. I struggle in the area of emotional boundaries. And I do that in the area of work, and I do that in the area of romantic relationships. I don't, I think I struggle a little bit with it with my son. I think at times.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel that we have such a strong emotional connection that I can put my foot down and really express
Yeah.
my frustration and my anger and my
Mhm.
my my disappointment or whatever it is that my boundaries are being broken.
Yeah.
And there are times when I'm just too exhausted to keep holding them up, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
Yeah.
and then but then when I see those moments, then who am I showing him? Like,
Mm.
what does that show him?
Yeah. Yeah.
At
What do
what
they see?
Yeah, what
Mhm.
are they learning to disrespect me? Are they learning to respect me? Will they
Yeah.
respect themselves? You
Yeah. I
know?
mean, I think that, you know, people who see others creating boundaries,
Hmm.
that's a very healthy response to a situation that you feel either uncomfortable with or want to grow from, right? And kids have no problem with it. Like the first things out of their mouth, no. Do you want this?
Right?
No. We're going to go
Yes.
here. No.
No.
Like no problems doing that.
And I'm like, but you're gonna go because I want you to go. I
Yeah.
don't want to go. And the
Yeah.
answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that
That's a hard one.
assertion,
Yeah.
yeah, that assertion of boundary in this household. Woo.
You, yeah. And as they get
Yeah.
older and, the
Oh,
respect that they get and the responsibility that they get
yes.
at a certain age and times.
Yes.
And, but I want to go back to like, as women, the way that we are sometimes taught early on or shown early on that it's okay to be treated certain ways, or if
Mm.
the point is to not make anyone upset or
Yes.
disappointed.
Yes.
Um, those get ingrained really early on, and I'm just like you were saying, you get kind of caught up in these moments. I mean, I've certainly had a lot of moments this year that was like, when am I going to love myself enough to not be treated this way?
Yes.
When? Like, help me. Show me a sign.
Like
Let me
showing you
know.
every day, ladies.
And they're like, well, we're giving you a lot of opportunities, honey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
But it's like a drug. Let me just test that water one more time, please. One more time. Because
Exactly.
I thought I missed the memo. No, you
Because
didn't fucking miss it.
what follows is not always easier.
No,
It's not. Sometimes
no.
it's harder,
It
you
just
know?
means we slipped right down the bank again and gotta crawl back up, on the slippery slope.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that new decisions need to be made. Just because you set a boundary, let's say with like an old friend or a family member or whoever who comes back and says, treats you a certain way, and you finally say to yourself, like, no, this isn't working for me anymore.
Hmm.
There's a whole series of things that follow that.
Hmm.
Self-worth is not just like a one-timer. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
well, here you go. This showed up for
Hmm.
you. You've decided this is a relationship that you don't necessarily feel good about anymore, or you're going to value yourself enough to make a boundary on something. It's not usually a one-timer. It
Hmm.
comes back to say, are you sure? And what about now? And are you willing to do this? Because if you're really valuing yourself, that means you're not going to pick up the phone. You're not going to call them back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just want to apologize for what I just said. You have to sit in the discomfort of that newfound self worth.
Oh my God, the newfound self-worth, the discomfort. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you
Yeah.
remember the first time your kid got mad at you? It's like so uncomfortable.
Oh my God. I
Or,
wanted to
and then,
cry.
yeah. And it's just
Hmm.
something we have to walk through all the time. Like, I'm so sorry
Yes.
that you're disappointed. Those Nikes are
Yes.
$375. That's just not going
Yes.
to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
just picking some
Yeah. It's
arbitrary thing, but
well, because that's so true. I mean, I find that I do that with the boy now, he gets so mad at me and it used to upset me. Now today
mhm,
I'm like, I know you're mad, but this is my boundary
mhm, mhm.
and I just have to hold it. And it is
Yeah,
uncomfortable because I just want to love on him and he wants nothing to do with me in those moments, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
So where it shows up in all of those types of relationships that, then and that's part of successful self-worth is to take the stand to grow to the next area,
Hmm.
right? You take the stand, you say, this is where I'm at, this is how I value what I value, this is how my self-worth is showing up. And then you're uncomfortable, but then it grows you into this next version of yourself or the next step that you're willing to take. And
Hmm.
that's the beauty
Yeah,
to show you what else you're capable of.
I'm gonna throw this out there because it's kind of fresh and what has been on topic. And I'll just throw my ass on the line. You sent that post today. Here, let me read it real quick because this is a good one. Gonna read it real quick. Hold
Yeah.
tight, people. This was a worthy one of reading. Um, she used to tolerate a lot because she didn't want to lose people. Now she's established her boundaries because she doesn't want to lose herself. I was like, that's a fucking good one, Alexis. Thanks.
Hey, lunchtime wisdom. You're welcome. Plop.
Lunchtime wisdom, exactly. And I'll just share is that I have had some loose boundaries, as you know, with a person in my life. And I have seen, like, when I read that, I saw for myself, like, because I'm a bit of a smart rat. Like, there's a smart rat in the kitchen, and the smart rat in the kitchen will say, and what do I say? I'm trying to even think what I say because my ego's like, we're not gonna let you have that. Um, what is interesting about this person is they have wildly strong boundaries, right?
Hmm.
Maybe that's all I'm here to keep pushing to say, are your boundaries strong enough? Are your boundaries strong enough? Because mine are not when it comes to you.
That's That's perfect.
Right? It's so true though, right? And so I find these ways to justify and I find these ways to make up, what do I make up? Excuses.
Hmm.
When really I need to have boundaries for myself,
Hmm.
and if anything, that's what this person is helping me learn too. And you had brought up something earlier about us needing that outside validation.
Yeah.
And if you remember, like a few months ago, I was like, I'm going to go on this journey if I do not need to be validated by a man. And that
Hmm.
has showed up. Like, really? Guess what, girl? You're going to really learn that
Guess
really well.
what?
And it's been hard. And
Yeah.
it has, it has caused me to really have to sit in uncomfortable
Yeah.
emotions of loneliness or rejection,
Hmm.
to where even like I think what I was sharing with you this morning is that I really felt a sense of peace. Like I was like, "Hmm, I'm okay. Like I'm okay with how my choice to make an action yesterday and the reaction that it got, and that there was not I didn't have an expectation. And
Yes.
therefore, I was left in a space of freedom. There in the past, I would have expectations and I
Hmm.
would have lots of hope and I would have lots of like, oh, but I honestly knew I was like, "Pfft, he said he'll let me know. And I know what
Hmm.
that means. No,
No. Yeah.
it's not happening
But
today,
life will give
sister.
you lots of opportunities to practice the same thing
This
over and
over and
over again.
over
That's what I
until
always tell
you're
my,
ready to
yeah.
say, I'm going to have enough is enough boundary. But
Yeah.
the boundary has nothing to do with him, that person. It really starts with myself. And it's back to what
Yeah.
you said is when will we be able to love ourselves enough that we won't allow people to treat us less than what we would treat ourselves? But in
Hmm.
those moments, I'm not going to speak for you or anybody else. In those moments, I'm treating myself less than.
Hmm.
So why do I keep testing the waters? What more do I need to get? How many more times do I need to know? Okay, 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 okay. Is it to the point to where I'm like, okay, I finally feel peace, so now I know? I mean, I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. Like at some
Because
point it switches over into like,
yeah,
okay, well now this is for me. I
yeah,
just gotta know. Like I gotta
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we all have that part of our personality. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to keep needling this because I just know that I need to know more.
I know. I need to know a little bit more. I gotta have a little. I'm doing research.
I'm doing a little bit more research on this, and now it's kind of fun, and it's giving me like a whole different set of
Whole different
growth,
vibe. Yeah.
a whole different set of growth here. Yes,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
and
Yeah.
that's for
It's.
you to decide,
Hmm.
and for you to walk through, and for you to say, huh, oh, every time this happens, I just feel a little bit different. I feel a little
Hmm.
bit more at peace, or I feel a little less attached, or I feel, and there's no wrong, right? When we
No.
start saying right or wrong, there's like, this is good and this is bad. It's like, no, you might set a boundary and have a different reaction the next time. And that
Yeah.
boundary may change just enough. It's
Right.
always up to you. It
Yeah.
is always, we always have a choice. We
We
always get
always
to
have a
choose.
choice. And I want to bring this up because we talked about this the other day, and I
Mhm.
want people to really hear this. I want y'all to really hear this because I feel it's so vital. No matter what you choose, you are not wrong. No matter
Mhm.
what you choose, you are not wrong. And if you choose to needle something over and over and over and over, it's just what Alexis said. You're not wrong. And if you have friends that struggle, I have been one of those friends because I've watched a friend in a situation for years and I would get so frustrated and so angry. And she would be like, dude. And I would realize, you know what? That's her relationship. It's not mine.
Mhm.
I'm just going to accept that that's the experience she wants to have. And it has nothing to do with me. And I'm going to stop making her wrong for it.
Mhm.
And she might finally be at the place where she's ready for something different. But me
Yeah.
getting frustrated or judging her or whatever, like I just want people to know you are not wrong. Wherever you're at is exactly where you're to be. It's fine. It's perfect because the
Yeah.
lesson isn't over.
The
That's how
lesson
I
isn't
see it.
over.
The
It's
lesson will be
never over.
over, right? But the lesson in that one thing will be over the moment you really are like, I'm at peace. I have no desire. None.
Hmm.
I'm done.
Yes.
I've worked at every angle I could. I've
Yeah.
checked out every window. I've opened up every door. I'm
Hmm.
finally okay with that. I'm done with that. Whatever
Yeah.
it is,
Whatever it is.
whatever it is.
And that even if you wanted to go back, you've already grown past it. You can't.
Yes. Yeah.
There's that moment where you're just like, darn, okay, there's no turning back. Like, I have moved through this. I have grown through this. Shit, it took me a
Yes.
really long time, but I'm
Yes.
here and I made it. And here's what's kind of on the other side. And yeah, it's an important thing to remember.
It
A
is.
really
It
important
is.
thing, and to not beat yourself up over how much time something might take you, because
No.
the time that it takes you is the process. Like, that is the process. That is
Yes.
the outline. That is the learning,
That
and
is the
that is
learning.
the growing. And there's
That
no
is.
fast forward button, and there's no skipping over stuff. And
No.
that's such, like, thank you for reminding everyone that
Yeah.
no matter where you are, that's where you are, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
It's totally okay. And give yourself grace, because
So much
sometimes
grace.
you'll beat yourself up. Like, I'll beat myself up if I'm like, oh my God, why'd I do that again? I knew that.
Yeah.
Why'd I do that again? But it's like, no, you did it again because you did it again because you did it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
And
mean,
use your
today,
resources.
yes, to use your resources. Yes. Today, I took a different route on my walk to break a habit and a cycle.
Mm,
And
nice.
I was like, you can break yourself from that, Tara.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't, you don't, you don't need it. You don't have to have it. Um, it's baby steps.
Yeah.
And that was a
I
successful moment for me. I was like,
hmm
oh, that's freedom.
Yes. And that thought may not have even ever occurred to you before at all. You just literally have gone on the same walk a million times, but
Yep.
today, probably because of something that you did yesterday,
Yes.
showed up differently this morning
Yes,
to
it
say,
did.
hey, let's walk a new route. And that
Yes.
is literally what is happening in your brain. That's like the perfect
Yes.
metaphor for what it is
Yes.
to carve out new
Yes.
neural pathways of habits and thinking.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
that is a brilliant story, because
Yes.
that is
You
exactly what
want to
it
change your life, then do something new.
is.
You
Yes.
want the same life, then keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole definition of insanity. Like, you
Yeah.
want something new, turn down a different street, take a different route going home,
Mm-hmm.
go to a different grocery store, do something different. Just switch your watch from one arm to the other and do that for a week and watch how, uncomfortable it feels for the first
Yes.
week.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what you're saying. You're building these new neural pathways in your brain.
Yep. And I'm
Yes.
reminded of this quote that I have on my wall here too. Is just, if you don't know what to do, pursue yourself. Pursue
Yes.
yourself. That was such a huge and profound quote that came up not that long ago.
What would you
When
suggest to somebody
you,
when who doesn't even know what pursue themselves means? I would
right,
imagine there's people out there like, what do you mean pursue myself? I don't even know where to begin to pursue myself. What would you
exactly.
suggest?
My suggestion after listening to so many years of Abraham Hicks was like,
Yes.
how does something make you feel? How does something make
Mm-hmm.
you feel? Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Crocheting, um,
Eating,
watching what?
eating ice cream, eating vanilla
Eating
ice
ice
cream
cream.
versus chocolate ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it
Like,
make you feel?
how does it make you feel? How does walking make you feel? For me, it was going to the gym. How does going to the gym make you feel? Makes me feel good. This
Mm-hmm.
year, this year was a tough year, and I went back to the two things that I know. The two things that I know: go back to school
Mm-hmm.
and go
Go work
exercise.
out. Mm-hmm.
Go work out.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe it's listening to a certain kind of music, and then you end up going to a
Mm-hmm.
concert. And then when you go to the concert, you're just like full of this wonderful feeling, and you go to another concert, and now you're
Yes.
someone who goes to concerts.
Yes, that's what
It's,
I did. That's totally one of
yeah,
the things I did. And next thing you know, I'm like going to a million concerts because I was like, I
yes,
love to go to concerts. Like,
because it feels
yeah,
good.
feels good.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you are somebody who maybe doesn't ever go to concerts, and you decide, oh, now I'm going to start going, and I see this one and I'm
Yes.
going to make time for it. Like,
Yes.
watch the way that you are disciplined and responsible and make time for those things, because they feel good. And all of a
Yes.
sudden now you have these things in your life that feel good. And when you
Yes.
feel good, better things happen. You
Yes.
like yourself more, other people respond to you a different way. And I feel like,
Yes.
we're so taught to pursue the job, pursue the career, pursue the partner,
Yep.
pursue the car, and,
Yep.
the things,
All the external.
all the
Hmm.
external things.
Hmm.
And they're not bad.
No.
They're important. Food, shelter, and companionship, very important aspects of life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But pursue yourself in the meantime there.
Yes.
Maybe you like to read. Make sure that
Yeah.
you make time to read. So, because you never know what's going to happen after that.
No.
And what has
No.
happened for me this year has been so beautiful. I have a whole new community of people and friends, and I'm involved in competitions. And I feed off of, just because I decided to make some time to go to the gym, it's become this big part of my life. And the strength that I have gained physically in that has given me so much strength in every area.
And mentally. Hmm.
Mentally, yeah,
Hmm.
way beyond the physical.
Emotionally. Yeah.
Mentally and
Spiritually.
emotional, spiritually.
Almost like you couldn't be on the journey that you're embarking on
Mm-mm.
in this moment without that.
Without that. And it just
Yes.
starts with a tiny little thing. Just pursue
Yes.
yourself just a little bit.
Yes.
Everybody's got a thing. Maybe you like to bake.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right?
Right?
And if you
Yeah.
do, let me know, because I love to
Yeah.
eat baked things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyone out there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's really what successful self-worth looks like in my opinion.
Yeah, successful self-worth.
Yeah.
It's funny to think, I'll look at myself and say, God, 53, it took you 53 years, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. I'm like, it's okay. It took me 53 years to
Yeah.
love myself the way that I love myself today. And there's
Hmm.
still areas that I have to learn to love. But like you, I went
Yeah.
back to working out was the thing I knew. Like that's, what has you feel, what has me feel healthy and strong, you
Yeah.
know, concerts, I'm such a junkie for concerts. But the other thing that I had never taken on was this whole journey of finding the store that I want to walk into. And then when I
Yeah.
walk out, everything that I wear, I feel amazing in. And that was something that I had to get over with myself because I had it that I wasn't worthy of that.
Mm,
And I wasn't worthy of walking into a quote unquote boutique and
hmm.
dropping not all, I mean, it's not an expensive store. It's a
No, but it's the
moderately
best
priced.
store.
It is the best store. And I mentioned it before, y'all, therapy in Georgetown.
Therapy in Georgetown.
Go
Kelly's
see
the best.
Kelly. Yeah. But I I had to get over all of the conversations that I had from childhood of like
Mm,
not being like, you can't afford this. And if you do this, then that, what about your child? And are you buying clothes for your
mm,
child? What about your child? It's like, yes, I buy clothes for my child. Like I had to get over all of these conversations of I'm not this wealthy, wealthy person. No, I'm wealthy. Forget that. Delete, delete, delete. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's, I had these stories and conversations that only the elite people could do such a thing,
mm,
not me. Like,
yeah.
who am I to walk into some store and have
Yeah.
this woman tell me what looks good on me and walk out? And, those were big self-worth conversations for me. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I can't imagine going anywhere else. I'm like, that's just where I shop. That's just where I go.
Hmm.
And the only place I'm going to go to get anything else is like shoes because she doesn't have shoes. I mean,
Yet.
I go there for right? Yet I go there for everything. I go there for gifts. I go there for accessories.
Yeah.
Those were self-worth conversations. But like you
Hmm.
said, it was baby steps and it was granting myself the permission
Hmm.
to do that because it felt good.
Yeah. When my boys were really young, and we're talking, I had four kids, 7 and younger, right? So
Hmm.
7 was my oldest. It was like 7, 5, 3 or 2, and a baby. And for years, I couldn't, you just don't leave the house because it's
Right?
just too hard.
Yeah.
And someone's always napping or eating or naked or something. So I would just pop in a video of yoga, and I would just do
Mhm.
yoga, and they would climb all over me. And then when they got a little bit older, I decided that I was going to like go to a class. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, I went to a training. And then after that, I got my teaching certificate. Like the baby steps are so important and can start anywhere. And I want people, listening to hear that. It's not this grandiose, sweeping thing. It's little
No.
by little, it's drops and dribbles and then it's awareness.
Yes, awareness. And what I'll say is in each of those moments, when you have the awareness to recognize
Mm-hmm.
when you're not loving yourself in that way,
Yeah,
to just
yeah,
recognize and get in communication and start asking the question of why wouldn't I
yeah.
love myself enough to have that or to choose that or to take myself on a vacation or to take a day off.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Take a day
rest.
off, people. Take a
Can
day
we
off.
just say I should have added that? Maybe you just
Yeah.
want to sit down and take a rest and do nothing.
Nothing. And trust that it's all going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
And that,
yeah.
you really can. I love the topics, successful self-worth, but it is baby steps. And
Mm-hmm.
then allowing yourself the space and time. I saw today what I wasn't allowing myself is the space and time to sit in some empty spaces that have shown up as I was telling you about this
Mm-hmm.
aloneness.
Yeah.
And I made a commitment to myself that Sunday is my day. I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
like I'm just gonna sit and be with these empty spaces that I want to escape. So Alexis and I were talking
Yeah.
about recently about escaping,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes, I won't speak for her, but I'll say for me, I want to escape. And what that looks like for me is like, I just want to go on a total binge weekend and misbehave and I don't do it. I did it
No.
once actually. I did it wasn't even a weekend. One night I stayed out till what 4 a.m. or something, and that was like a big deal, right? And that was kind of a rowdy little night. And it wasn't even expected. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to be doing this podcast
We
that
were
night.
supposed to be doing the podcast and it just never happened. It turned into
It just
something
turned
else.
into something else that we weren't expecting, but it was fun,
The
but
famous night.
I will say, when you I don't even know why I brought that up, but I think because when you are living, I don't want to say the straight and narrow, but when you are living in purposeful responsibility
Mm,
all the
that's
time,
beautiful. Purposeful
all,
responsibility.
yeah, purposeful responsibility all the time. Sometimes you forget about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you need to focus on yourself and you need to take a day off or you just need to do something for yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
I do have these moments in time because as a single mom, all the time doing it, doing it, doing it, I just want to like just misbehave. And I
The
probably won't give
call
my,
of the high vibes, I
yeah, the
think is
call
what
of the
the
wild
call, the call of the wild high vibes.
and
Yes.
not nature. I'm not talking nature.
No, I'm not talking nature.
but back, I don't know why. Well, I don't know why I took it there because I think just keeping it real. Like, every now and then just want to lose it. But I don't. I choose not to, and that's okay. Hey, I might choose to sometimes, but then again, that's okay. But I think it just goes back to these moments of take time for yourself. When you
Mhm,
don't, it shows up in ways, whether it's your health or whether you're out next thing you know you did 6 months of binge weekends and benders and then you've lost things and life's all scattered and you've blown stuff up, you've self-sabotaged things because you
mhm.
didn't stop and take the time and you burnt out and you lost yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going with that, but we talked about that the other day. It was like, we just want to escape. More than
Yeah.
Calgon, take me away. It's more than that.
Yeah.
But,
There's the high, like I said, the high vibration of loving yourself, liking your life. It's yes, it's an escape, but it's also a celebration. Does that
yeah.
sound like it's a liberating celebration? There is
Yes.
space. Somehow you
Yes.
have created a life where there is enough space for you to say, I want to go out and celebrate. I feel so good.
Yes.
We get a lot
Yes.
of, I don't feel so good. I'm overworked. I'm
Yes.
emotional, exhausted. But we also, on the other side of that, is like some space and liberation to say, like, I feel real good. I want to go
Yes.
feel real good.
Let's go feel real good.
I'm going to go out and feel real good.
Yeah. And the universe responds to you.
Mhm.
When you go out like that, the universe responds in really magical ways, in
Mhm.
ways that you can't even possibly imagine, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, I
There's
don't know.
lots and lots of good stuff.
I know we've been talking a while, so we should probably
Mhm.
wrap this up. But what's the one thing that you'd like to leave the world with that they can do to create more successful self-worth and self-love for themselves?
And you know what? It really is finding ways to find ways to feel good. Just
Yeah,
to feel,
feel
find
good.
a little snippet of something that feels good and
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to follow that. Don't talk
Yes.
yourself out of it.
No.
Don't allow yourself the feel good feelings and allow yourself to make decisions by saying, actually, that feels really good. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go sit out in the pool. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to, whatever it is, fill in the blank
Mm-hmm.
what feels good to you. Um, because when you feel good, then more feel good happens. And I honestly
Yes.
feel like that's the goal.
And it's okay
That's
to
the
say
goal.
no when it doesn't feel good. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel good. This
Yeah.
doesn't feel good.
There's going to
Yeah.
be a this feels good and this doesn't.
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah.
going to be the contrast, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna pull a card real quick for us
Oh,
all.
yay.
Um, yeah, one of the things I recently started giving myself permission because I work from home is on really hot days on my lunch break, like I'm gonna go get in the pool. That's what I'm gonna do. Between my
Hmm.
calls, I'm gonna go get in the pool and I'm gonna float in the pool and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna get back on my computer and start working and making
Exactly.
calls. And, in the past, I would never do that. I would just work through my
Yes.
lunch, keep on working, keep on working, keep on working. And it's like,
Hmm.
no,
It works
no,
for a little while.
it
And I want
does.
to tie that back into parenting just because that's so my world is, when you are in a situation with your child or your partner or as a family, like find the one thing that you can have a good time doing together. Forget about the
Yes.
correcting, forget about the punishment, forget about
Yes.
the I could be doing this better, and just go have a good time together
Yes.
just for a
Yes.
little while. Um, yeah,
What
I just
is
wanted
it
to add
that
in that.
I love
What
that?
are you
What
going to
is it?
ask the cards?
What is it that we all require to continue successful self-love?
Mm,
Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, okay.
what jumped out?
Release stories and
Oh, yes.
increase our frequency adjustment, which I think is perfect because I just want to pull up and call up all known and unknown stories related to not having time or space to make time for yourself,
Mm,
to not, all of the conversations, the complaints, or the interference energies, like all the stories you say of why you cannot do this thing for yourself, pulling all that up, collapsing all of that, cutting us from all of those stories, releasing those stories, and then increasing the frequency adjustment, increasing everyone's frequency to actually be more in tune and more aware to what feels good. So I want to
mm,
increase that energy from the top of everyone's heads to the soles of their feet, increasing that energy, but removing, releasing, and collapsing all those stories that no longer serve you, that stop you
mhm.
from doing things that you love and
Ah,
stop you from taking care of you, because it really is about you. You cannot serve your world, your family, your life if you haven't served yourself. It's just end of
mhm,
story. Like,
mhm.
if mama ain't feeling good, even if papa ain't feeling good, then nobody's feeling good. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta feel good. You've got to know what feels good in your mind, body, and soul. So then you can give back to others. You can give back at
Mhm.
work. You can give back to your kids. You can give back to your partner. If your cup is not full, if your cup is empty, you got nothing.
Yes.
And that is, your cup is your worth. It is who you
Mm.
are. It is, so fill it and drink it, y'all. Fill it and drink it. That's what I say. But yeah, release the stories, increase the frequency adjustment. Well, I just want to say thank you. This was so much fun.
Oh, this was so much fun. I love
know.
this.
I love this.
Yes,
We'll have to do it
thank
again.
you. You're just an amazing
Anybody
human being. I'm lucky to
Oh,
know you.
thank you. I love you. Thank you. Everybody that is listening, I'm going to put Alexis's information down in the show notes. You can find her at alexisdrees.com. She is an amazing, phenomenal human being. And like I said, any parenting questions or concerns or support that you are needing, she is your woman. And until our next show, you can catch us every other Sunday on Spotify, on Apple, and other places. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And I can't wait to be with all of you next time. Have a great day. Thank you for coming on this healing adventure today. If you're starting to see how everything is falling into place for you, consider rating the show and sharing it with one of your friends. Keep that spirit alive and join me next week, same place, same time. Have a great week.